Hi, I'm Jamie Lewis, and welcome back to the Bassist.net. We've all but pretty much wrapped up this entire intro series called The Basics, and I figured it would be pretty cool to finish penning this final chapter with something fun. So today, I'm gonna just give you a list of some of my favorite bass players, the most influential bassists of all time, just to give you a head start and maybe even a new source of inspiration. So don't go anywhere, you know you're gonna wanna see this. Now, first of all, let's just lay some ground rules here, okay? This is a pretty silly idea. There's no way to compile a list of all of the greatest bass players of all time, right? There's some that I'm gonna forget. There's some that you might disagree with. There's bass players that aren't even on my radar yet. So please don't leave me 1,000 comments saying, oh, you forgot about such and such, or whoever. These are just suggestions from my own personal opinion of bass players that pushed the envelope, bass players who were legendary in their time period, and bassists that made a huge, lasting impact on my own musical journey. What I recommend you do is grab a piece of paper or open up a notepad document or something and just start writing each of these names down. And then immediately after this video, go ahead and do a Google search on each one of these people. Listen to some records that they've done. Watch some of their videos, okay? Get these sounds into your ears and into your fingers. I guarantee it's gonna work wonders for you. So the first name I'm gonna drop is a man by the name of James Jamerson. Listen, baby. In my opinion, Jamerson is the godfather of the bass guitar. You would know him perhaps from pretty much anything that came from Motown in the 60s. Think the Temptations, Marvin Gaye, the Four Tops, the Supremes, the list goes on and on. He actually has performed on nearly 30 #1 pop hits, surpassing a record held only by the Beatles at the time. And on the R&B charts, nearly 70, that's 70 of his performances went to the top. And the reason why I call him the Godfather is because he basically invented the way that we still play the bass guitar today. He was a double bassist, jazz upright, and when the Fender bass guitar came out, he was one of the early adopters. So if you play any kind of funky, soulful, R&B type groove, you're playing a sound that Jamerson pretty much invented. But the interesting thing is this, where did Jamerson get the idea from? Where did he get this sound? Because pretty much all the other bass players were just playing the electric bass as if it was a double bass. Seriously, listen to pop music in the early 60s. All the bass lines are boom, a boom, boom, boom. You know, I mean, they were jazzy. It was essentially amplified double bass. There were no ghost notes and funky in-betweens and all that stuff. Jamerson hadn't done it yet. And that's why I adore Jamerson so much. In fact, I'm wearing him on my t-shirt right now because here I am 60 years later and I'm still just trying to play the bass the way that he did. Because in my mind, that's what a bass guitar sounds like. The bass guitar sounds like Jamerson. So there's actually, I highly recommend you check this out. In 2002, there was a documentary called Standing in the Shadows of Motown. It's a documentary about Motown and the Funk Brothers, who was the entire band that played on all those recordings. And Jamerson played a pivotal role in that group. So definitely go check out Standing in the Shadows of Motown. Okay, next name on the list is another big one, also from the 1960s, and it's Kaye.
I love the colorful clothes she wears and the way the sunlight plays upon her hair.
Carol was one of the members of the Wrecking Crew, which is a world-famous collective of studio musicians from the 1960s and 70s in Los Angeles. They played on everybody's record in the 60s, from Frank Sinatra to the Mamas and the Papas, the Beach Boys, Sonny and Cher. I mean, it was insane how good they were. And Carol played a vital role in the Wrecking Crew. She was another Fender bass guitarist, which again, remember, at this point in time, it was still kind of a new thing. Most guys were still playing the double bass. But she played the bass with a pick instead of with her fingers. She was a guitarist first, a jazz guitarist, and so she brought a lot of that technique and a lot of that melodicism to the bass guitar. It's estimated that Carol has played on over 10,000 recordings over a 50-year career. And actually, there's another great documentary from 2008 called The Wrecking Crew, in which Carol's story is shared in detail. So another film that I highly recommend you check out. The next bassist I'd like to throw on your radar is John Entwistle. He's another bassist from the 1960s, this time from the band The Who. Now, there's a ton of reasons why The Who was successful and influential. They wrote great songs, but honestly, I think the biggest reason why The Who was so big is because of John. He was just another guy like Jamerson who just played the bass differently than everyone else. He didn't treat it like amplified double bass. And in my opinion, as far as I can tell, throughout the 1960s, rock and roll bass, nobody played like John Entwistle. And rock and roll bass playing has never been the same ever since. Actually, if you listen to a lot of Who songs, especially the early stuff, Pete Townshend is kind of more like a rhythm guitarist, and John Entwistle is the lead guitar. And I truly believe that the next line of bass players who came after, like Geddy Lee, Chris Squire, John Paul Jones, Billy Sheehan, I think that heavily influenced the way that they interpreted rock bass guitar. And in fact, let's just go ahead and cover those names because they're also on my list. John Paul Jones played bass in Led Zeppelin, and another one of those huge iconic rock bands. So if you want to know who wrote the book on rock and roll bass playing, well, JPJ is definitely one of the co-authors. Chris Squire is the bassist from the iconic prog rock band Yes, and he was also another pick player, which means that every time a Yes song comes up in this set, I have the hardest time playing it because I really suck at playing with a pick. Geddy Lee is the bassist, the keyboardist, and the lead vocalist for the legendary Canadian prog rock band Rush, who stayed active for approximately 40 years. And then Billy Sheehan is just another insane rock and roll bassist. He played with Mr. Big, David Lee Roth, Steve Vai, Niacin. In my opinion, the fastest rock and roll bass player of all time. Some other noteworthy names include Joe Osborn, who was another bassist in the Wrecking Crew alongside Carol Kaye. Bob BABBIT was Jamerson's counterpart, another Motown bassist. Nathan Watts, he's been Stevie Wonder's bass player for decades now. Stanley Clarke, actually, he's the reason why I play the bass to begin with. I heard the song School Days by Stanley, and I've been hooked ever since. Marcus Miller, he's just got this iconic look and sound. He's a great slapper and someone that we all try to mimic to some extent. Perhaps one of the biggest influences on me personally is a bassist by the name of Victor Wooten. He's an amazing human being, an unreal bass player, musician, composer. I mean, the guy's he's insane. His first album, A Show of Hands, stopped me dead in my tracks. I heard it when I was 15 years old, and I spent literally a decade learning everything I could from him, from that album, from all of his music. He's incredible. His chops are fast, he's flashy, but his pocket is deep. Victor taught me everything I know about pocket playing, about grooving, about funk, about soloing. So definitely get your hands on everything that says Victor Wooten. Every book, every DVD, every video, every CD. Listen to it, learn it, take it all in, because he's amazing. Some other great funk bass players include Verdine White from Earth, Wind & Fire. Two very noteworthy bass players by the names of Larry Graham and Louis Johnson are both credited for having invented the slap bass technique. Larry played with Sly and the Family Stone, and Louis was a session god who worked with Michael Jackson and many others. You would definitely know his bass line from Billie Jean. I'd also say FLEA from the Red Hot Chili Peppers brings a ton of funk to his band's form of rock music, and so does Tim Commerford from Rage Against the Machine. This next bassist is another one to make special note of, and it's Jaco Pastorius. Jaco was another one of those dudes that, man, after he played the bass, it was never the same again. Nobody played melodies like he did. Nobody played as fast or as clean as Jaco, and he did it all on a fretless bass guitar too, which was also kind of unheard of at the time. Jaco was a force to be reckoned with, and he made a huge impact on the bass community while he was alive, and I would go as far as to say he still continues to be a driving force for all of us bassists, even 30 years after his untimely death. Jaco died September 21st, 1987, which was one day before my first birthday. I highly recommend you check out his first album called Jaco Pastorius. The first song is called Donnelly, and it's gonna change your life. And also anything that he did with the band Weather Report. Actually, some more homework for you. There's a fantastic documentary, I know another one, called Jaco, and it was actually produced by Metallica's new bass player, Robert Trujillo. Speaking of Metallica, it'd be a good idea to check out Cliff Burton. He's the original bass player for Metallica. I would consider him the John Entwistle of metal bass guitar playing. Dan Briggs from a band called Between the Buried and Me, an amazing, unbelievable prog metal band with an incredible bass player. Another bass player that was a massive influence on me when I was younger is a bassist by the name of Mike Dirnt from the band Green Day. Now, I picked up the bass in 1994, I was 6 or 7 years old, and Green Day's Dookie had just come out. And my cousin Matt bought that CD for me, and it was the only thing I listened to. Like, it changed my life. And like, I'm not kidding. I'm now 31 years old, and there are still Green Day licks from that album that are cemented into my playing forever. I'll be on a session, I'll be playing a gig somewhere, and I'll just do something. I'll go, man, what was that? Oh, that was a Green Day line. I just straight up ripped that off from Mike Dirnt. I can't help it. It's in my DNA. Some other great punk rock bass players include Fat Mike from NOFX. He's a really, really fast pick player. I'm also a big fan of Hunter Bergen from AFI, probably one of my favorite punk rock bassists. And definitely check out Ed Breckenridge from the band Thrice. He's actually the reason why I own a Gibson Grabber bass. Definitely check out Tim Foreman from the band Switchfoot. I cannot sing enough praises about this guy. Whenever I play a pop or a rock song, I ask myself, what would Tim Foreman play on this? And then I try to imitate that. He's one of my favorite, most melodic bass players ever. I'm a big fan of some other YouTube bass players like Evan Marion or Adam Neely. They're just unreal musicians. Another huge influence on my bass playing is a player by the name of Yannick Gwizdala. This guy plays the bass. He solos like no bass player you've ever heard of before. Norm Stockton is another great bass player. He pushes the envelope all the time. Adam Nitty, a Nashville 6-string bass player who just plays faster and cleaner than almost anyone I can think of. Tal Wilkenfeld, oh my God, Tal Wilkenfeld can play. Actually, she stopped me dead in my tracks. The first time I heard her solo album, I just grabbed a pencil and paper and I just started writing down everything that she was doing. I mean, I really could keep going and going. This is a never-ending list. It's gonna continue to grow forever. So we're just gonna stop there for right now. That's plenty for you to chew on. So here's what I want you to do. Google search all of these names that I just told you. Watch their videos, listen to their music, read their books, soak up everything that they have to tell you. And keep in mind the context of what they were doing in the time period that they were doing it. I think that makes it way more interesting because you'll notice that some of these players were of a certain skin color or gender that was not treated fairly at the period of time that they were working, right? So it actually makes it even that much more incredible that they overcame those adversities and still were able to make a lasting impact on the history of music just on the strength of their bass playing. It's incredible. So that's it for this series called The Basics. I hope you enjoyed it and I hope you found it beneficial as you begin your journey on the bass guitar. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't done that yet. And if you want more, come hang out with me at thebassist.net. I've literally got hundreds of videos covering a multitude of topics, genres, and levels of difficulty just waiting for you. Also be sure to check out The Bassist Podcast. New episode goes up every single week. All you gotta do is just type in The Bassist Podcast wherever podcasts are streamed. So have fun, and thank you so much for stopping by thebassist.net, and I hope to see you again soon. Hey, if you like what I do, please click on the subscribe button right here. And if you really like what I do, then click over here to see how affordable it is to join me at thebassist.net. But if you just want the free stuff, then click here to check out whatever YouTube's sophisticated robots think you should watch next. I'm sure they know what's best for you.